Welcome back, everybody, to our 11 a.m. panel for today's MedTech Day at TechStars Startup Week Dayton 2020. So almost free money. Nothing is free. Even grants take time and efforts and carry an opportunity cost. So in this session, we'll learn about various non-dilutive seed funding sources for MedTech startups, and then we'll hear some real candid feedback from entrepreneurs within our region who have received those dollars about how the funding actually works, what you can use it for, and how hard it is to get. So reminder as you're listening and questions come to mind, type them into the session Q&A feature in the app. So you'll click on session Q&A, click on MedTech, and we'll be collecting your questions to send to the panelists. So with no further ado, we're going to jump right into our pre-recorded pieces.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the session. I'm Andy Cothrell, your on and off again host of today's virtual MedTech Day. Really excited about this next panel, almost free money. Everyone loves to get non-dilutive capital into their startups. It's particularly critical for a lot of MedTech businesses who often have very long and expensive development paths to get a product ready for FDA clearance or approval. So today, we have a variety of panelists, each representing a source of non-dilutive funding, and then a startup will come in and talk a little bit about winning some of that money for their startup, how it went, and what they used that money for. So this session will be a fairly rapid sequence of brief overviews of non-dilutive funding sources, and then a startup talking about their use of those funds. And we'll go through those in sequence, and then there'll be some time at the end for question and answers when many of the panelists will be able to join us live.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Spohr, and I'm the program manager for the Technology Validation and Startup Fund program offered through the Development Services Agency. The purpose of our program is to support validated technologies at Ohio institutions of higher education and not-for-profit research institution, along with supporting Ohio startup and young companies that license those technologies. Our program supports near-term market opportunities in the following areas: software information technology, biomedical and life sciences, advanced materials, sensors, energy, advanced manufacturing. There are two phases to the program. Phase one, applicants for technology validation funds must be an Ohio institution of higher education or a not-for-profit research institution which has a history of technology commercialization and creation of startups. An institutional infrastructure that supports commercialization. Lead applicant must have a dedicated technology transfer office. Award levels are between $200,000 and $500,000 in any one funding round. And the institution must be able to provide a one-to-one cost share. Eligible expenses include personnel time for employees of eligible institutions, purchase services from vendors outside of the institution. We prefer Ohio vendors, supplies and equipment. Our phase two funds support Ohio startups and young companies that plan to, but not yet have licensed, validated, proven technologies from research institutions. That's very important. There are two levels for phase two projects. Biomedical and life science technologies may apply for up to $150,000. All other areas up to $100,000 in funds. Grants 2 years in length. A technology does not need to be phase one funded If technology did receive phase 1 funding, the project must complete with affirmative results before applying for phase 2 funds. Company must be located in the state of Ohio, must be a for-profit company, must have a strategy and plan in place to remain in the state. You must maintain a physical location in the state. Funded activities may include, but are not limited to, beta prototype development and deployment to potential customers for testing and evaluation, market research, business development in order to generate the proof needed. You may apply up to 3 times, must have a letter of support from the institution where the technology will be licensed. We strongly recommend that you work with your region's ESP provider. The eligible expenses are slightly different with phase 1. Purchase services from vendors or contractors that do not have a financial stake in the lead applicant. Supplies and equipment. No personnel wages will be reimbursed. Our next funding round is round 24. Our online application will open December the 20th. We will accept any written questions through January the 4th. Your proposal will be due by 2 p.m. on January the 11th, with awards approximately mid-May. Our review, once your application has been submitted, we send to a third-party evaluator for review. If accepted, your applications are then invited for a one-on-one interview. Your proposal is then recommended to the Third Frontier Commission, and proposals are then sent to our controlling board for final approval. Get ready to apply. We'd love to have you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn Kao, founder of EndoGuidance Technologies, a medical device startup in Dayton, Ohio. My company received a TVSF Phase 2 grant from Ohio Third Frontier in April 2019. I want to share with you some of my lessons learned in preparing for the grant submission, the interview once selected, and post-award. I should start by saying that writing the grant itself was unlike any other experience that I've had. The TVSF proposal is more similar to an SBIR proposal than the typical NSF or NIH R21, for those of you who are familiar with these grant mechanisms. I was fortunate to have a large network of advisors and resources that I leaned on heavily while preparing the proposal. In fact, that is exactly what the reviewers want to see, that I am plugged into the entrepreneurial community and have access to these resources. As a client of Dayton Tech, I had already gone through the exercise of working out a business plan, thinking about follow-on funding strategies, and of course, having an alpha prototype. Once selected, the interview was, as you would expect, intense. It's not as nerve-wracking as the Shark Tank, but you should bring your team, know your competitors, your target market, and your IP position. Now, once awarded, it is not guaranteed that you will have the grant, especially if you haven't yet obtained a license agreement from the institution that owns the technology, which in my case was Wright State University. Don't underestimate the time and the effort that is needed. I almost lost the grant because negotiations took longer than the 9 months allowed after proposal submission. So because of the delay in getting the license agreement, we were slightly late in sourcing a contractor for the prototyping work. We started the work in May and are nearly at the end of the contract. To date, we're very excited about where we are headed. We have begun working on next steps, such as lining up strategic OEMs that we may partner with, updating our market survey, and mapping out our regulatory pathway. Without the TVSF grant, we wouldn't be this far along, I can tell you. Now, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Hello, my name is Henry An. I'm one of the program directors at NSF. I work within the SBIR STTR program. I handle the biomedical technologies and medical devices topic. NSF is primarily a funding agency. We have about $8.3 billion of annual budget, and we support fundamental research and education across all fields of science and engineering. Within NSF, our SBIR STTR program operates with an annual budget of approximately $200 million, and we fund about 400 companies every year. The slide shows the topic areas that we fund. And one takeaway from this slide is that we fund just about all technologies. As long as the company is working with innovative technologies with commercial potential, there is a fit somewhere within our program. So NSF is probably the only agency where the topic fit really doesn't matter. As long as the innovation is there, as long as the market potential is there, there is a fit somewhere within our program. All the companies applying to NSF for the first time have to go through phase 1 first. There is no direct to phase 2 or combination of phase 1 and 2 program. Everyone goes through phase 1 first, $256,000 project. It's a 6 to 12 month project. Once the company completes the phase 1 project, they can apply and move on to a phase 2. Phase 2 can go up to about $1 million. It's a 2-year project. While companies are working on phase 2, they can apply for supplemental funding programs. Phase 2B is the biggest supplemental funding program that we have, up to $500,000. It's a matching fund, so companies apply with the matching fund from private investment or commercial revenue. It's a 2-to-1 match. For every $2 that the company comes in with, we will match up $1 up to $500,000. And we do have other supplemental funding programs, but this is the biggest one. But when it's all said and done, it will be close to $2 million. Hopefully, that'll be sufficient for companies to advance the technology and continue to grow the company. For many of the medtech companies, they will have to go out and raise significant amount of money and to be able to grow. But hopefully this will help companies to de-risk the technology enough so that they can go out and raise the money needed to continue to grow. Here are some stats related to our NSF SBIR STTR program. 91% have never received a phase 2 from any agency. 85% are at 5 or fewer employees. 72% founded within the past 3 years. And over 75% of these companies were receiving SBIR or STTR of any type for the first time from any agency. So as you can see, our funding program is skewed toward very much towards startups and very early stage companies. And here's another stat within our portfolio companies. Since 2014, there have been $9 billion of follow-on institutional equity investment that these companies were able to raise. There have been 107 successful exits, mostly through acquisitions. This is our homepage. For any company looking to apply for our funding program, this really is the first place that they should go to, seedfund.nsf.gov. That button, Get Started, it leads you to a timeline where it explains about all the steps that companies have to be involved or have to take before being considered for funding. The first step in the process is submitting a project pitch. Once the project pitch is submitted, we will get back to you within 3 weeks. At this point, companies are not being reviewed. We're just looking for a fit, whether the company has technology, whether the company has a technology that is innovative and has commercial potential. Once invited, companies are strongly encouraged to go through the solicitation guideline to put together the full proposal. What do we fund? We fund innovative, novel, proprietary technologies. We do want to be able to help companies early on in the process that are at high risk and they're at early stage development. Companies do have to show that there is significant commercial opportunity for the specific marketplace that they've chosen to enter. And going through a customer discovery exercise like I-Core also helps to show that there is sufficient customer demand for the product being developed. What do we not fund? We don't do basic research where the primary goal is knowledge creation. We don't do incremental improvement to an existing product if the company has already built the technology and just have to tweak the device that they may have built to have it fit for another market. Projects where there is no commercial opportunity is also an area that we typically don't fund. There has to, no matter how interesting or innovative the technology is, there has to be a commercial potential for the technology that's being developed. And we also don't do market studies. We don't do something that's non-technical to advance the technology. That's all I have today. Thank you. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me, hon@nsf.gov, and don't forget to visit our website, seedfund.nsf.gov.
Hi, I'm Andy Cothrell. I'm also a panelist in my own session this time. And I'm here as the CEO of Exact Medical. Exact Medical is a pioneer in the field of handheld point-of-care robotics. The technology comes out of Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and the company is a Cincy Tech portfolio company, but was headquartered in Springboro and drew heavily on the Dayton region for networking and for its workforce. I'm here to talk about winning money from the National Science Foundation. The NSF process is terrific, in my opinion, because it's broken into chunks where you can submit the white paper, get some initial NSF feedback, and then put in the effort, the investment of the full proposal, because there's always an opportunity cost, even with free money. NSF also puts a great deal of emphasis on the commercialization process. So almost as soon as we got the grant, NSF was engaging with us to try to assist us in our commercialization journey. So that's a little sort of extra value you get from NSF. The proposal process is fairly standard for these kinds of things, for an SBIR type proposal in terms of length and complexity. Our use of funds was primarily around developing real-time correction for our handheld robot. So if you hold a robot in your hand and you want to use it, everybody wiggles a little bit, maybe the patient wiggles a little bit. And so what we worked with on NSF was sort of the fundamental algorithms and sensing technology that could be integrated to correct for that. And NSF was interested because it's sort of a fundamentally enabling technology for any handheld robot, whether it's our particular device, which was being designed for vascular access, or for some other robotic device. So that's the story of Exact Medical and its receipt of National Science Foundation money. Most of the actual cash spend was on people and a little bit on some parts and some prototyping, and then culminated in an animal lab that actually demonstrated the efficacy of the work that NSF funded.
Hello, my name is Robert Vinson. I'm a program manager with the National Institutes of Health, which is the major component in the Department of Health and Human Services. Also in the Department of Health and Human Services, you have the CDC and the FDA, which are major components in the Health and Human Services, but NIH is the largest component in the Health and Human Services. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what our mission is for NIH. And when I mention NIH, that's encompassing, like I said, the Health and Human Services. But the mission of the NIH is to seek fundamental knowledge about nature and behavior of living systems and the application of that knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce illness and disability. Our budget is approximately $1.2 billion per year, or last fiscal year. We make small business awards in the form of SBIR, Small Business Research Innovation, STTR awards, which are Small Business Technology Transfer Research Awards. The NIH is one of 11 federal agencies that participate in the small business program, the small business program that provides assistance from everything from the Department of Defense to energy to NASA to Department of Education and so on. When you're applying to the NIH, you want to make sure that you're applying, that your area of research falls within biomedical research and life sciences. We place a special emphasis on making, we made approximately 900 Phase 1 awards last year and approximately 400 Phase 2 awards. The program, the small business program, is in 3 phases. The NIH participates in 2 of those phases, which is the Phase 1, the feasibility of your application or of your award, of your research, excuse me, and the Phase 2, which is actual research and development of that application, of your research, excuse me. We also want to make sure that the Phase 3 component of the small business program is not something that we participate in as far as providing funding. However, we assist companies and entrepreneurs to get to what's called an inflection point, where you have an opportunity to network and meet potential partners, have an opportunity to obtain funding from angel investors and other investors who may be interested in your research. The unique thing, or one of the great things about the small business program, is that it's non-diluted capital, meaning that it's not a loan. We're not taking a second on your mortgage. We are providing funding to you that helps mitigate the risk in your research, and so that investors will be more attracted to participate or to provide funding for your research further down the road. We have several unique aspects about the program, whereas we provide diversity supplements, we provide entrepreneurial assistance, we provide the I-Corps program to help you from Phase 1. Phase 2, we have technical assistance also, where the Phase 1 receives approximately $6,500 for the Phase 1 budget year, or per year for the budget, and $50,000 for a 2 to 3 year time frame for the budget period. We also provide what's called entrepreneurial assistance and training, which is the C3I program that helps for medical devices. We also have the ability to provide a direct to Phase 2 awards and fast track awards, which actually combines the Phase 1 and Phase 2 of your application. We also have the ability to network with other agencies as far as providing assistance, and as far as providing the ability to make awards in the joint ventures and through memorandums of understanding. We also have the ability to make assistance or provide assistance to grantees or awardees at any time. Our award program is structured so that you can talk to us or you can speak with us at any time throughout the award process, from the time you have an idea to the time you actually submit an award, and after you have submitted or submitted a proposal or submitted an award. Contrary to other agencies, like other agencies who are granting or who are contract or acquisition agencies, NIH is primarily a granting agency. We want to solicit your ideas as far as topics that you'd like to see or like to have funded. We have 3 receipt dates per year, and we have 1 contract receipt date. So with those dates and those type of mechanisms, we have a lot of flexibility. But the most important piece of advice that I can provide is the fact that we want you to talk to us. We want you to reach out and connect with us, and that can easily be done. Our website is sbir.nih.gov. It lists all the program officers from the various institutes, their contact information, and we're here to assist you and help you provide assistance to get your research to the commercial marketplace. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ryan Snyder. I'm a strategic director at Cornerstone Research Group. We submitted our NIH STTR application to a funding opportunity focused on developing high throughput tools for neuroscience and mental health research. Our grant aims to leverage algorithms and machine learning techniques to automatically detect and classify ultrasonic vocalizations from rats and mice. These USVs can be leveraged to understand underlying mechanisms and develop treatments for a wide range of research topics, including addiction, PTSD, Parkinson's, and a variety of mental health disorders. From deciding that we were going to pursue an NIH proposal to the arrival of the funding was roughly 11 months. We started putting our aims together in late August 2018, targeting a January proposal submission. Once we had our aims pulled together, we set up a phone call with our STTR program officer to gauge the program alignment. In October, November, and December, we refined the work plan and pulled all the content together. We compiled biosketches, facility descriptions, budgets, and other information from our 5 grant partners, as well as coordinated 11 letters of support from both US and international research groups. Even though our work plan was only 6 pages, our proposal ended up being well over 100. Now, the ERA Commons website that we used for the upload was very helpful. It allowed us to compile these documents in stages and get them prepped for upload. We got our initial feedback and priority score in early March 2019, and we were given the opportunity to provide a response to those critiques. Once that went in, we were notified of our award in early June, and the project started in August of 2019. Now, this particular announcement had a 2-year maximum period of performance for phase 1, with a funding ceiling of $450,000 per year. Since the grant was awarded, we, along with our STTR partner, Dr. Christine Duvachel at the University of Texas, and our other research partners, have made significant progress toward our overall goals in just the first year of the grant. We have made many improvements to the detection algorithm and built out supporting infrastructure for data input, aggregation, and in situ validation. To date, UT has hand-scored over 100 new files from 6 different research groups, building a robust data set for validation and other studies such as cluster analysis and inter-rater reliability. The framework created during this program enables us to continuously improve the underlying algorithms while simultaneously collecting and aggregating data from multiple, simultaneous, and distributed users. New updates to the system can be pushed regularly and are immediately available to the users via the web interface. We plan on making this platform available to biomedical researchers in early 2021. This NIH grant has given us a great opportunity to develop new tools for the biomedical research community, leveraging both CRG's technical expertise and our established partnerships. Applying for the funding did take a significant amount of time, especially coordinating the various partners that we incorporated. However, now that we are more familiar with the process and have many of the background documents written, the next proposal we submit should take a lot less time. I would definitely apply to the NIH funding again.
Welcome to Dayton Startup Week. My name's Jordan Rowe, ESP Venture Manager. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the ESP program, another source of free money, almost. And so it is a competitive program, an Ohio Third Frontier grant to support early stage technology driven entrepreneurs. So what we do is provide services, service providers, prototyping, legal, accounting, and those services are provided to early stage technology focused entrepreneurs. And so our objective is to help go through concept, seed, and early stage ventures, helping with significant growth. So we are looking for highly scalable, highly venturable companies. It is a 10.2 roughly $1 million program over the next 3 years. We currently have 80 companies in our portfolio, roughly 20 of which are MedTech focused. Okay, so that's a little bit longer journey. There's some nuances, and so through our program with those 80 companies, we provide services, one being mentorship. So, and probably the strength of our program is each one of those companies that come in gets assigned an EIR, an entrepreneur in residence or executive in residence. And so the EIR is there with you through that process for communication, support, mentorship, and then to help you unlock some of the funds. And that's how we do that. So I mentioned it's a competitive program. So if you are interested in something like this, we ask that you reach out to the ESP team. We'll put you with Kim Fraser, a colleague, or myself. We'll vet you, the technology, the entrepreneur, and then if we see that you're a fit for the program, we run you through a 2-day boot camp, and from that boot camp, if accepted into the program, you will be assigned an EIR. So when thinking about whether you are a fit for the program, we are looking for highly scalable ventures, technology-focused ventures, highly investable ventures, because what we're graded on is kind of, our report card back to the state is increased follow-on funding, increased revenue, increased headcount. Okay, so we are looking for companies with $250 million addressable market size, growth in a technology sector, and for our point of view, a lot about it is the entrepreneur, the focus. We do take a lot of technologies from various industries, lab, transition of technology, those type of things. Our funding partners, so we also have collaborators in this with us, just to name a few: Wright State Research Institute, Wright Brothers Institute, UDRI, Ascend Innovation, Sinclair, Cornerstone Research Group. There's a number of other collaborators, and then also we lean heavily on our service providers. So those are the accountants, the lawyers, the prototypers, anyone that would be providing service back to these entrepreneurs. So if interested, feel free to reach out to me, Jordan Rowe, Venture Manager, or anybody else on the ESP team. Welcome. Have a good day.
Hey everyone, I'm John Owen from Wright State Applied Research Corporation, and I'm here today to talk to you about the MedTech Launch Fund. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. The MedTech Launch Fund is a grant fund program to support medical technology commercialization. We've got 2 different tracks that can have grants up to $75,000, and these grants are targeted towards alpha prototyping, demonstration, and the assessment of failure points within those technologies. So we're really looking for technologies that have some work done on them already, and that they are really looking for that first prototype that can show off to a potential customer what it would look like, what it would do, and how it would support potential patients in the future. There are 2 tracks for this program. The first track focuses on the research institutions AFRL, University of Dayton, and Wright State University. This track has $400,000 available towards it. And then our second track is for industry. That can be an individual entrepreneur, a private company, hospital system, and we have $150,000 in that track. And the goal is for these technologies to develop further that will allow them to commercialize through a local startup that takes the company to market. So to be eligible for this program, you have to have IP protection in place, whether that's a patent, trade secret, or some other IP protection. The technologies also have to be advanced beyond basic research. So we're not looking to fund the initial research. We're looking to help take that research that's shown some lab testing and really advance it through kind of that prototyping stage to help it become more likely for a license for commercialization. The other thing with this program is all the funds need to be spent with third-party vendors. So we're not looking to fund the researcher who has built the technology to develop it further. We're looking to put money into a third-party manufacturing company that can prototype it for you. So you'll see off on the left here kind of the schedule and timeline. Our application is currently open now. You'll find that down on the bottom bar where it says apply now. There's a bit.ly link for that. The applications will close on October 5th. So the application is a pretty straightforward process. We use an online system called GUST. And at this first stage, we're really screening the technologies. So we want to know why you developed the technology, how you got to that point, what work is needed to advance the technology, what your market would be if you were to spin the technology out, and then that a startup is a good avenue to take this technology to market. From there, our selection committee, made up of local investors and customers within the healthcare industry, will look at this and decide if they want to see a full proposal from the companies or from the researchers. Researchers will have 15 minutes to present on November 17th. This presentation will have a template attached to it, so you can just follow that template. Two things here that are kind of added in. We need a price estimate or quote from a vendor, and we can help you find that. And we also are looking for third-party validation that someone in this industry, this healthcare medtech industry, thinks this is a good idea. So that could be a potential customer, a potential entrepreneur who wants to take it to market. And then we're looking to make awards around Thanksgiving time. We'll open the second round up in January of 2021. And if you have any questions for me, there's a MedTech Launch Fund booth in our virtual resource fair. And if you click to connect there, that will go directly to me, and I'd be happy to follow up with you if you have any questions on this program. Thanks for having me here today.
Great. Well, I hope the rapid fire sequence of videos there all went off smoothly for our audience. Appreciate everyone's participation in the logistics of making all that happen. We'd like to open it up now for questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to send them in, and they'll show up here. At this point, we don't have any questions, so we will chat about something and then until some questions come in. John, maybe not to put you on the spot, but with the fund that you just described, how are things going out of the gate with opening submissions? Everything working smoothly, getting some interest?
You're on mute, John.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I had to turn the baby monitor off so I could talk to you guys. We have I believe 6 or 7 people have started their application, so they still have another 2 weeks to get that in. So we're seeing some good numbers initially, and hope to continue to see that grow coming out of the session today.
Terrific.
Hey, Andy, I have a question it's probably for Henry and Robert. So you submit a proposal, and
the chances, I don't know what they have the chances down to. You got an 18% chance of getting that phase one. In the follow-up, what is your guidance to early stage company? You got your response, you didn't get in, is there guidance to say, hey, yes, you got your feedback from the judges, but should you resubmit? Is there a best practices on resubmitting those grants?
Yeah. I think, or our suggestion is that you will receive a summary statement from the review itself. Please address those concerns that were brought up in the review. We want you to reach out and actually speak to a program officer to help you construct those responses for that summary statement, and that's going to be the best thing. We want you to address those issues. Whether you submit again or not, that's going to be completely up to you, but we strongly suggest that you address those issues and resubmit.
Yeah, for NSF, it's probably very similar. So all the companies that do get declined, they will receive an email saying that their proposal was declined, along with the point of contact, the program director that processed the proposal. So they should always circle back with us and discuss some of the weaknesses that they may have had. All the companies will get a copy of the individual reviews and their comments, as well as a panel summary that the panel as a group put together, if there was a panel. And it's really important that the company address all the concerns that are expressed within the panel summary and prepare a one-pager that gets submitted as a supplemental document. And the full proposal has to be updated and submitted. And it's a separate review process. It's not really a continuing process. I think some companies do get confused between resubmitting and going through the process for the first time. But second time around, it'll be the exact same process. The only difference is that the company will have that one pager in the back. What I tell companies is that if they address all those concerns and submit, it is still a separate review process, so there's no guarantee that it'll be funded, but it's guaranteed to be a stronger proposal than the previous one because they've addressed those concerns.
It's good.
Great. Thanks, Jordan, for that question. Jennifer, I have a question for you because the TVSF program has evolved, particularly in how the phase ones are administered. So just for clarification, if I am in the Dayton region and my tech is based on intellectual property from one of the universities or from the Air Force Research Lab or some other federal lab, what do I do in the Dayton region to get access to phase one money? What does my process look like?
It's basically the same as phase two. You would submit an application. Our review panel will review it, and they would award anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000. So that pot of money, AFRL or University of Dayton, they have phase one money. They would award individual projects
exactly. So
in the university.
You're talking about the institutional award. If I'm an entrepreneur, what's my mechanism in the Dayton region?
Oh, in the Dayton region, it's just to go to our website, fill out an application. It's online, and that's just something brand new with round 23. And you just submit an application. As long as the technology is coming out of AFRL or the University of Dayton, and you're a small company, and it hasn't been licensed, as soon as you get that license agreement, that fully executed license agreement, that kind of bumps you out of the process. It has to be done prior to that. And then let's say you submit an application and 2 days later you execute that license, that's all right. You have to wait until you submit your application. And you do have 3 times to submit an application if you're not awarded the first time round. And we don't hold it against you at that point in time if you've executed the license.
Very good. And John, because the MedTech Fund is at least in part made up of dollars from TVSF, if you're one of the research institutions or academic institutions, those same rules apply over at the MedTech Fund?
So the track one I talked about is a TVSF phase 1 program. So that's AFRL, UD, Wright State are all partners on that and can access those funds. And like Jenny said, that's pre-licensed technologies. So if there is an entrepreneur, and I think this kind of addresses the question, if there's an entrepreneur that's interested in one of those technologies, they're more likely on this stage going to be that third-party person who's interested in the technology once it gets through phase 1. That phase 2 track, that can be that can fill some of the gap Jenny was talking about, where if a license has already been executed, they're not able to take that. The TVSF program's not able to take that project on. Our phase 2 track can take that on because we have additional funds outside of the TVSF program specifically for that.
Terrific.
I actually have a question, if I may.
Certainly.
For Robert and Henry. So both NIH and NSF would accept applications, SBIR applications for medical device from medical device companies, but their award sizes are different. So my question is, what would be your advice about who to submit to?
What should I do? Yeah, so
Well,
go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead. I went first last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with me, I always tell companies that they need to really apply to all the different places. I mean, you never know where the funding will come from. So talk to NIH, talk to NSF, talk to other agencies, maybe DOD or maybe angel investors. And if the funding comes through, that's great. If there's any overlap, in the best case scenario, everything comes through. If there's any overlap in the proposed work, they can only go for one. They would have to decline one over the other. But the phase 1 funding is $256K for NSF. Phase 2 can go up to $1 million. We understand that for most of the medtech companies, that's not going to be sufficient to commercialize the technology. And our hope is that by helping these companies to de-risk their technology at this early stage, that they'll be able to go out and raise additional funding. It's not unusual for our phase 2 applicants, by the time that they get to phase 2, to come in with some form of commitment from strategic partners or private investors. So I think our hope is that they'll be able to continue to grow beyond the grant that we can provide, and hopefully that'll be sufficient.
I agree with everything Henry just said. Additionally, I think the major difference between our agencies, NSF and NIH, is that we're going to be looking more at clinical trials using human subjects and that type of thing. So those clinical trials get very expensive. So we are with our phase 2 awards, that's where we get into other avenues of dollars and other programs, entrepreneurial training and assistance and business assistance, that we can help these companies deal with getting approvals from the FDA and get, like I said, getting those clinical trial approvals done and started at least to help them on that path to the commercialization market. But that's exactly what we'd like to do. Don't limit yourself to one agency. Look at us both, and if we can help, that'll be great. But we'll work out the overlap if there's any, and we'll certainly talk to those companies.
Yeah, and one thing that NSF does not do is clinical trials. So if they have a device that they've already built and they just have to show that it's safe and effective, then NIH would be a better place to go. And we do have many companies that will complete their phase 1. Although with NSF, they have to go through phase 1 first and then go to phase 2. I know NIH does take companies to come in and go directly to phase 2, for example.
Correct.
And some of my phase 1 companies have gone to NIH to get phase 2.
Right. We've got direct to phase 2, and we also have a fast track program that combines the phase 1 and phase 2, depending on if you have preliminary data for that phase 1 application.
I'm a big fan of the fast track because it avoids that gap, that funding gap.
Exactly.
Between phase 1 and phase 2, where if you're a startup and you've taken on any fixed costs, that can feel like a really long wait between wrapping up your phase 1, getting your phase 2. And speaking of wrapping up, we are out of time. So thank you very much to all of our panelists for almost free money. And Audrey, I think I turn it back over to you to wrap it up.
I'm actually doing double duty here, Andy. So I'll.
That's right, John. I'm sorry. That's right. I knew that and forgot it. I turn it over to John to wrap it up.
Yes. So thank you, panelists, for joining. And our audience will kick back off at 1 p.m. Again, like to thank our title sponsors, Wright State Applied Research Corporation, the Entrepreneur Center, and Fifth Third Bank. And encourage everyone to go grab lunch from a local spot. If you go to downtowndayton.org/open, you can find a list of businesses in downtown Dayton that are doing delivery or carry out or curbside pickup. So I encourage everyone to get lunch from one of those venues. Appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Henry?